In the previous lecture, we set up our 3 projects to use Prism. And now it is time for us to move forward and actually create the views and link them with the view models, Prism style. So I have already gone ahead and deleted the main page. And so what I will do is do what we have been doing throughout the entire course. I'm going to create a views folder, and I'm going to create a view models folder. Inside of the views folder, I am going to create 3 new views. So I'm going to select, of course, the same content page SAML template that we have always used, and I'm going to create first the books page. I am also going to create the new book page. And finally, I am going to create the book details page. And for each and every one of these pages, well, I am going to create their view models. So over in the view models folder, I am going to create the class that is going to be books VM. I am also going to create the new book VM. And finally, the book details VM. Hopefully nothing new so far. We are just creating the views, creating their view models. Before going ahead and linking the views with their respective view models, as you should do with Prism, I am going to go ahead and define the basic UI for each of these views. For example, the books page, which is going to be the main page, is simply going to list all of the books that are eventually going to be saved to a local database. Now I don't yet have the model, so the view and more specifically the template for the list view is not going to be complete yet, but I do need a list view in here. So let me go ahead and define a list view that of course is going to have an item template, and it's going to have a data template, and I am going to use a simple text cell as the data template. Again, I don't yet have the model, so I wouldn't know what to bind to the text and the details yet. But this is exactly what is going to be inside of the content page. Now I also need inside of the toolbar items, a toolbar item that is going to navigate us eventually over to the new book page. So I will define here a toolbar item that is going to have a text of add. So again, this is going to navigate us over to the new book page. So onto the new book page then. In the new book page, I am going to have a search box, and I'm going to, of course, be listing all of the books that are going to be a match for that search. And eventually I'm going to have just that simple save button. So let's actually define that save button first. I am going to be defining again in the toolbar items, a toolbar item that is going to have a text of save. And inside of the content, I'm going to be defining a stack layout. Inside of the stack layout, I'm going to define a search bar. I'm going to set the placeholder of this search bar to search SBN author or title. And below it, I am going to be listing the search results inside of a list view. Again, the list view is not yet going to be binding to anything. I don't have the model for the search results, but this is going to already have an item template, of course, data template of a text cell. So both of them are going to be simple text cells, eventually binding to something, not yet binding to anything. And so this is the new book page. Finally, the book details page is also going to contain a toolbar item in case we want to delete an item from the list because maybe we made a mistake when adding an item, a book, I don't know. So let's just add here inside of the content pages toolbar, a toolbar item with a text of delete. And since this is a delete option, I am actually going to set this to be destructive, which is going to make this toolbar item look slightly different depending on the platform. And so here in the content, I am simply going to be displaying some information about the book, which I don't yet have, but we can be sure that there's at least going to be a label for a title, the author, maybe the ISBN. So at least 3 labels in here. Again, we are not yet going to be setting this to anything specific, but I do want to make sure that perhaps the label for the title has a font size of 25 and some font attributes set to bold, that the label for the author is going to have a font size of 20 and maybe text color of silver, and finally the label for the ISBN is going to have a font size of 15 and maybe green for the text color. Again, just setting up the user interface in here, not yet based on the models. The important thing in this lecture though is to relate the views with the view models in the way that Prism requires. So you may have noticed that we have this register types method that we haven't used yet. It is precisely in this method where we are going to be relating views to view models. And so what we'll have to do is here register the 3 views along with their corresponding view models right inside of this method. By registering them, they are going to be ready inside of the Prism environment to be used for navigation, for binding, and just for the view models to communicate correctly with the views. So what we have to do is use the container registry, which is a variable that is coming directly from Prism application, and register for navigation. Notice that there are many different types of register methods. We could register instances and singletons. These may ring some bells from the lectures where we talked about dependency services. Right now, we just want to register for navigation. And so here, register for navigation, we're going to start by registering our books page. Of course, we need a using directive to the views namespace. And we actually, of course, need the view model to which this is going to be related, which is the books VM class. And of course, we need the corresponding using directive. And so we need to do the exact same thing another couple of times. One for the new book page with the new book VM, and another one with the book details page with its book details VM. And so these 3 views, along with their view models, have already been registered for navigation. So now that we have the very first version of the views and that they are all registered now with Prism application, in the next lecture we're going to implement the navigation between these 3 pages.